Welcome to Mi-Soul, the Brand New Heavies, Jan, Simon and Dawn.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for coming down.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
When you first got together, did you still think you'd be still making music and producing great albums like 2014 from back in the 90s?
No, not really. We're just, each day as it comes, just enjoying ourselves.
It was
aren't we?
originally just like a bedroom band, like in Jan's bedroom, just jamming for the sake of the love of music. Unlike the Spicy Girls and people like that who were kind of picked and manufactured, we're like a real band, and it's amazing
That
stuff.
play real instruments.
Yeah, I mean, we do pinch ourselves, still going to like Japan. We just was in Japan last week, and it's unbelievable. Still working with great singers, such as the incredible,
Guilty.
and you, to the group Dawn Joseph.
Go on, blow it.
That's just ruined all my questions. Anyway.
Sorry.
So how much of your time is spent now actually like writing music and being in Jan's bedroom?
I spend quite a lot of time in my bedroom, personally. And in other rooms in my house. Bedroom's
But
my
are
favourite.
you still writing music in
You know what,
bedroom and other
in
rooms?
terms of writing music, we really just seem to do it for a record, and then the rest of the time we're out on the road and, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And playing music and, you know, rehearsing very occasionally and doing stuff like this. So if you're a busy working band, you tend to write, then go out and promote, and then come back round again and do it all over again.
So it's sort of a never-ending circle of writing, promotion,
Never
releasing,
ending.
writing.
Yeah.
So how would you describe, because music's moved on since the 90s, so how would you describe...
Terrible. No, sorry, go on.
I agree. But how would you describe your style of music?
I think it's just our
Sort of disco, pop, funk, classical opera, jazzy, soul-y.
reggae rock, disco. You've done that, haven't you? Electro.
Because it hasn't really changed very much since the 90s, to be honest.
I don't know. I think we got better at what we do gradually, and it's like anything else. You know, it's a journey without trying to sound too corny, and you sort of follow your musical instincts, and you know, you get to work with different people. You know, Dawn's brought a whole new flavour into the band with what she does and her style of songwriting and everything else. And you know, our live shows changed, and it's like a journey. It changes, so it has changed actually. But I mean, we've stayed true to what we do, and our core influences are the same. And
Well, yeah, one thing we have done is we started off as a band that plays instruments, and really as an instrumental band. So it was myself, Jan and Andrew, sort of like drums, bass and guitar.
Yeah.
And I think that once the computer came along, I said it a bit Scottish then, I don't know why, but hey, that's another demographic, that's not
You can appeal to.
And I think the computer is sort of, there's new sounds sonically, so you can get snares and different instrument sounds. But we still play our instruments, so our music's been called like old or whatever, but it's just like drums and guitars, and they've been around for years and years, and hopefully they'll be around for more and more years. But for a while, you know, when the Acid House came out, which is why Acid Jazz Records started, that we got signed to, it was like blips and beats. There was no guitars, no basses. It was just like all pro keyboards and computer sounds. And I thought it was the end for me as a guitarist in the dance scene.
Did you start looking for a day job? Did you think, oh, I need to get something to do?
A bit of busking.
Busking, yeah.
You know. But it all came back around though, yeah.
Do you find that your music still appeals to the music buying public?
yeah,
not those that are down
definitely. Music's like food. You know, there's so many different varieties and so many different tastes and textures out there, and ours is just one of them. You know, so and it's a good one. So I think people do definitely like what we do. You know,
There's a couple of gluten-free tracks on the album.
There is.
And there's a full fat
Definitely
sort
some
of dessert and
full fat stuff on there.
a death
as well.
by chocolate at the end.
A bit of Black Forest Gatto in the middle.
Feel like
It's all good.
Forest
It's
Gatto.
nice, isn't it? That's it much, but there you go. That's
It's very
another story.
70s, isn't it?
So does writing and performing still excite you as a band as a whole or individually? Does it still excite
Yeah,
you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It is
Bored of
the-
this now.
No.
Like
What else are we going to do?
Yeah, I
right?
don't know.
Yeah.
You could get bored of, especially, well, both things, recording and performing, because they're always going to be different. Every time you go on stage, it's never going to be the same show, ever.
Especially with our band. But you know, there are shows like a Beyonce show will be like, if you miss a dance step, it's going to be out of sync, and it's very much a sort of regimented thing. But we have managed, through lack of rehearsal, to always have a different show. Or a bit like a DJ playing, you read the audience, you might say, I'm going to go this way or that way with what I thought I was going to play.
Yeah.
and extend certain sections because the audience is either going really crazy and you want to, you know, we can actually respond to the audience, which is like.
And you know,
It's a cool
in terms of responding to the audience, it's an energy thing. We really thrive on what the audience gives us, you know, and vice versa. And we have a really good relationship with our crowd, and you know, it seems to always flow really well. So we always turn on a good performance, and the fans do the same to us. You know what I mean? So it works really well. So that never gets boring.
Moving on, I mean, Dawn, what can I say, the newest member of the Heavies. How are you finding working with these guys?
Gosh.
Someone break out the Valium quick.
No, it's actually, I mean, I've worked with a lot of bands and artists, and like I said, you know, with the performances, they're never the same. You just never know what you're going to get.
When you turn up.
Exactly. But it's brilliant. That's what keeps it fun, you know, and they're great. When we wrote the album, we sort of got together in the rehearsal room, and they just started playing, and then I started singing. But before we went in, I was like, oh my God, so what? I don't know, because I've written before, but loads of times, but it was a bit like, I don't know how this is going to go, it might be really bad. But they just started playing, doing what they do brilliantly, and then I just started singing, and then we were writing the album.
Do you know when we spoke last, what really threw me, and it's still, even today when I was listening back to
What did I say?
You turned around and said to me, oh, well, I grew up in Jersey, which isn't really a hotbed for any sort of music. How did you get that transition? I mean, not even a transition, how did you get from being the Jersey girl to being in, like, perhaps one of the best bands that come out in the UK?
Well, not being good at anything else when I was growing up, or just not knowing what I wanted to do. You know, when you
No,
go
because
to,
you could run.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
an
okay.
athlete, but then I discovered boys when I was 15, and then my piano playing and my athletics went out the window. So I didn't have that. And also, when you grow up in Jersey, you don't think that you're going to be at the Olympics. I could have been if I'd have stuck with it, but it's not something that you ever think that's going to happen to me because I live in Jersey. So I got to the point in Jersey, I was singing around the pubs and clubs, and I just thought, if I'm going to make something of this, I'm going to have to move. And I did, I just moved. And I never went back.
Their loss, your game.
Absolutely.
Oh, we should go back and do a little tour of Jersey, all the old.
All the old pubs and clubs.
Great.
That's
There's
a great
offshore
idea.
banking there. There's a few rich folks
is,
there, and they're
Like
like
the way you're
Jersey.
thinking.
It's a lovely
You know
place.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Lovely.
£200 a ticket, VIP, get your champagne, get your champagne.
Let's talk about the new album before the taxman turns up. Sweet Freaks. It's a great album, actually. And it's quite close to your last album. Was that a conscious thing or just...
It's funny, so some people say that, some people say it's really different, so I think it's just...
What, you mean close as in the time?
The time. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
see what you did there,
Yeah.
time-wise. Yeah, you know what?
Thanks for picking that up.
We're just trying to be more efficient, you know, as a band. I think, you know, the last record before that apparently came out 8 years before, was 8 years earlier. We did actually have a live album in between, but that's far too long to put records out. You know, in this day and age, you know, records don't sell as much as they used to, that's just a fact. And so these days, increasingly, a record is a way of promoting your live act and, you know, the whole thing going round and round and round. So if you're putting records out every 5-10 years, then you're in trouble. So we just thought, let's be a bit more efficient. And
If we got 8 years, you might be dead as well.
exactly. Which doesn't mean we're just going to put
Let's
them
hope
out.
not, eh?
Weaning ourselves
Exactly.
up the Mi-Soul steps. No good.
We'll put a ramp in.
Yeah,
We
please,
can afford it.
lift.
Yeah.
Bit of stand
Ramp
stair
would be
lift.
hard. Just
We can
go
start
straight
doing
into
our own as a bit of merchandise, a stair lift.
The Brand New Heavies Stenner.
Brand New Heavies in association with Stanner present.
I might as well throw this iPad out of the way. This industry's just got out of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I think. If the stair lift goes too fast, you don't want to go out the window with it. Back to the questions.
Thanks for the question that I've forgotten. So, about the new album.
Yes.
There's a couple of really good covers on the new album, and the one that really throws me is Sledgehammer. How did that come about?
It was my idea, actually. Well, we were just writing in the rehearsal room, and then we just, because they always do covers, as you know, so they were just like, we've got any ideas for covers, and I love that track, Sledgehammer, and the On Vogue track too, and I just said, what about those? And they just started playing.
I think we tried those in a couple of other things as well, but, or was it just those?
No, literally the only two we
But
tried.
we're all sort of thinking about doing a cover, yeah. We just got in the room and we gave them a go, and pretty much instantaneously, they just came up with the style. You know, Sledgehammer's quite sort of, it's almost like the original version of it. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it's sort of like,
It is and it isn't.
Because it's stripped down and
bass
funky.
line to it, and it's got, you know, the guitar.
It's like a sort of funk thing, you know. It's like a Meters-y style.
And you know what, the original tune, the Peter Gabriel tune, was a great song and a great pop song, and it always had, it was always starting on a road that could have gone really far, and we just decided to get in that car and drive at 100 miles an hour down the road that it could have gone down, you know? Yeah.
It's funny because I actually like the Peter Gabriel version.
So do I.
I like yours just as much.
Yeah.
I don't like one more than the other.
Yeah,
So,
it's
you know, I think, and I always find covers are a funny thing. They're either hit or miss.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
you know, I think you've done a good job with it.
Yeah.
And the On Vogue track.
Thank you, I love that track. I love On Vogue.
So is that now you're riding that crest of like you've released albums, you've got a bit of momentum going again. You've released another one, a bit more momentum. Do you think now this is going to be the trend? You just keep releasing albums, or?
I think we should, definitely. And also, you know what, I think the more, you know, the more time we've been around, I was going to say the older we get, but I'm not going to say that.
Let's just use the term mature.
Exactly.
Like a fine wine.
You know what it is? It's kind of like your kind of fears and your, you know, your restraint sort of falls off you to a certain extent, and you kind of get more of that kind of gung-ho spirit, and I think there's definitely a bit of that in this record and in the way we are, and I think that that's a good thing, you know? Kind of, in a way, for me personally, you kind of recapture some of that folly of youth, but with a bit more knowledge. You know what I mean?
Do you remember Follyfoot, that programme?
I do. I remember
About
it.
horses.
Yeah,
I remember it.
Theme tune was like.
Anyway, moving on.
Tumbleweed, a bit of tumbleweed there. Got any tumbleweed? Where's the My-Soul tumbleweed?
Where's the editor? We'll get that bit cut right, bit right out. So I know you're doing some live stuff coming up, haven't you?
We are, yeah.
You're,
We're doing the Children in Need thing with Tony Blackburn, which is going to be great.
did you ever
Really
go and
looking
see
forward
him
to that.
at the National when he used to come on stage in his underwear in his wife front?
I didn't go. No.
No,
I didn't go.
He didn't miss much.
But he is a legend. That's
He
for
is
sure.
a complete.
So we're doing that. That's a charity thing.
Charity.
And then the
He used
next.
to do what?
He would DJ at the National Ballroom in Kilburn on a Thursday night. I forgot what it was called, but he would
Sounds
come
so
on
dodgy in the current light of.
and it's BBC as well, which makes it even a little bit more risque. But yeah, he'd come on stage in a pair of underwear.
So we're doing that, not in our underwear, but
Although
we're doing jazz. We're doing a load of stuff
Maybe
at Jazz Cafe again as well in December, like we did last year.
Okay.
What are the dates? Still?
15th, 16th and 17th.
Great big numbers.
17 sold out, but I think there's like 1.5 tickets
yeah.
left on.
And that's
Not
it really.
too
And then next year we'll be doing a whole load more regional stuff as well.
So will there be a tour for this album? Because I think there
definitely.
should be.
Definitely, yeah.
And obviously some of your back catalogue.
Absolutely, yeah.
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 We can expect that in 2015.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of early
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of.
It's all in the pipeline right now. It's all being discussed.
Yeah.
So, and what everyone wants me to ask is, are you already planning your next album? Have you started? Have you started writing for it and putting down some?
We haven't, but I mean it will happen, definitely.
We've actually been really busy,
Yeah.
going away quite a lot. Just was in Japan and Seoul, like 10 days.
What's your following like in Japan?
Great.
It's good.
Their music crazy.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
fantastic, man. They've been so loyal to us for such a long. We were going there for 20 plus
It
years.
is amazing. It's a place that's kept some music's alive. They were the first people to start reissuing music and old records.
Yeah.
You know, before like the internet, really.
And they still
You
like a
go-
bit of vinyl as well.
They've got
They do.
loads of
They still
vinyl.
sell CDs. I think it's one of the countries where people still buy,
Yeah.
what's it called, solid stuff.
Physical.
Physical, there you go.
There you
They've
go.
been good to us, definitely. I really
Yeah.
love going there.
Yeah.
So in terms of like performing, where do you like performing the most? What place do you think, great, we're
On
going
stage,
to?
for me. It's got to be on stage.
Yeah, definitely
On a stage.
Yeah, but where that
I know,
stage is
I
to be.
London, you've got to
Gotta
say
be on
London,
stage.
London always.
Yeah.
You've got to say London because they are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Japan. When we were in Seoul, actually, that was just crazy.
New places are always good. We've done a lot of, done a few places in Eastern Europe recently that we've never done before, and that's fantastic as well. You know,
It's opening up there for all the funk. It's like a new scene out there. The
It's
soul
getting
and funk
popular
scene.
again. Disco's on its way back,
Definitely.
according to John Morales.
The good disco. 'Cause there's disco and disco, and it's like, I don't like the way the 70s has been tainted with a sort of like a really bad 70s kind of spangly joke brush, because it was a heavy time and a serious time. And there's some badass music, and it's like a bit like saying James Brown just did It's a Man's World and Sex Machine. Did a lot more as a political figure, made some loads of other tunes, and meant a lot more to people. So just to write them off as some sort of like joke guy with two sort of squeaky noises. You know, it's like, and I think that's about the 70s. It's been turned like that, and I've forgotten what I was talking about already.
Claim back a little bit of
What
that.
did you ask? You can't remember.
I would say disco's making a comeback.
A disco,
Yeah.
as long as it's the good disco, because once again, there can be that, and there's some killer disco tunes, and it's a big genre, which isn't just like the YMCA and stuff like that.
But it sort of disappeared.
It is something.
It sort of disappeared and never re-emerged. Where music, I think, has been cyclical. You'll find that it comes and goes and comes and goes. But disco hasn't come back.
Well,
I actually think
disco's like it's just an old version of house music, really, isn't it?
There's been like new disco,
Yeah.
Italo disco sort of came back, a few 70s records, bit of a shortage, you
And
see.
the whole re-edit things, you know, reinvented a lot of things, a lot of really good stuff around. And
thank Joe Negro for that. He's done some great re-edits.
I thought the re-edits have saved a few tunes, because you want to play some tunes, you're like, oh, what's that bit in there for? But sniff them out and it works, you know.
So we've definitely got a new album that's going to come out at some point after this one. It's going to be hard to beat. And there definitely will be a tour at some point in the near future.
Definitely.
Okay, we'll leave the last word to Simon there. If you just blow your whistle to say goodbye. Thanks for coming in, Jan.
London!
Welcome, mate. Thank you.
Silence
See you, mate. Cheers.
and Dawn.